Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and persons in between. My name is T-Bone, and welcome to another episode of Serious Issues. So, in the interest of getting to know each other and building a community, I have decided to show you some pictures from my life. A good old-fashioned slideshow. Yay! Because who doesn't love a good slideshow? I bet you're stoked already, right? I tried to pick photos that have an amusing or interesting story about them, try to show some places that I've been and things that I've done, and let you get to know me a little bit. So, let's dive right in. Wow, look at that goofy looking clown next to Ronald there. This is when I was about 19. Worked in a McDonald's, like many of you, I suspect. I didn't see this guy without his makeup on, or maybe I did and I just didn't know that was the guy who was going to be Ronald. I vaguely remember him passing everyone and going into the break room. He kind of set up in the break room. He set up in the break room, and the rest of us had to eat our lunches out in front with the commoners. He said hi to all the crew and then went out to mingle with the customers. Anybody work at McDonald's? Anybody meet Ronald? Anybody got any stories about meeting Ronald there? I was in the Army. Yes, I was. Just 4 years. I was a medic. I was terrible at it. I was kicked out of the medical platoon twice. At one point, my first sergeant said, "I do not want him in charge of another human life." And he was right to do it. I was not good. I wasn't the worst ever, but once gave a guy a shot of epinephrine without knowing if he needed it or not. He just got stung by a bee and wasn't sure if he was allergic to bees in a shot, so I'm like, better be on the safe side. He was fine, nothing happened, but yeah. Anyway, so there I am doing some field training. These are the barracks I stayed in Korea. I was stationed in Korea for a year and 3 months, I think was. Toward the end of my enlistment, late 2002 to the end of 2003. Like there, good times. The main base in Yongsan in Seoul had card games, different nerd games. I went for the Magic the Gathering, but there were other games as you can see here, and there's some vendors who sold different games and figurines and all kinds of nerdy shit. So yeah, this is me playing with a few of my associates at the games. All right, okay, now the story here. The guy on the right there is my first sergeant out there in Korea. A lot of the people in my company suspected that I was gay. Spoiler alert, I'm not. It didn't help that there was this big formal dinner that we all had to go to, and we all got dressed up, and before the dinner, everybody else was hanging out in the bar getting beers, and I don't like beer, so I just looked at the menu and ordered something that sounded nice. I ordered Tequila Sunrise, something like that, and yeah. I laughed my ass off when the waitress came toward me carrying the fruitiest, girliest looking drink I'd ever seen. My first sergeant looks at me and says, "You are just flaming, you know that?" Yeah. Shitty camera. That is Tom. Tom was the guy who, he was one of the vendors at the Yongsan base and sold different card games and figurines and stuff. He also, the games took place on Saturday morning. Friday nights, he would host a thing at his apartment. We would all get together and watch shitty movies and make fun of them. And it was a lot of fun. Real nice guy, but sometimes, like once in a while, I'd spend the night there just so I didn't have to go back to my base and come back in the morning. So I would just ride over to the base because he lived off post, and I would ride over to the base with him and all this stuff. And he, like I said, he was a real nice guy, but man, behind the wheel of a car, he was a different animal. Korean kids have no fear of traffic. They will just walk right in front of you. And he Swore profusely at them. This, in 2006, or was it 7? After Hurricane Katrina, for my spring break, I went down to New Orleans to help with hurricane relief. So yeah, we went around gutting houses, me and the crew. And this guy had a contract to supply all the vending machines for all the Pizza Huts in town. But I guess like he lost the contract, and so he just had all these vending machines in his basement. And the 5-year-old in me was ecstatic to see all this. I was like looking for change so I could get something, but of course I knew there was nothing in any of them. This house just up and floated right down the street. This is the school that I taught for in Japan. I taught English in Japan for like a month and a half. I taught for Nova. Nova was a school that went bankrupt shortly after I got there. They had overexpanded and not delivered on some of their advertised promises, like you couldn't get a lesson 24 hours a day, and a bunch of people felt ripped off, so the government slapped some sanctions on them and they went bankrupt, and the CEO fucked off with everybody's money. And I ended up going to Korea for 4 years. I taught English there. That was a coincidence. I didn't go back to Korea because I loved it so much when I was in the army. It was easier to get another job, or it was easier to get a job in Korea than it was to jump through hoops for a job in Japan. And, I enjoyed living there and teaching there in Japan. I'm sorry, Koreans, but I like Japan a little better. They just have a wild, crazy spirit to them. They're a little more free-spirited. Yeah, I enjoyed my time there. I wish I had gotten more. I was really excited to live in Japan, and I was felt profoundly ripped off when the job was yanked out from under me. Kind of bitter for a while. I had spent time learning Japanese before I moved there. When I got to Korea, I decided, fuck it, I'm not going to learn Korean. Why waste my time? Hiking in the mountains in Japan, at the top of Mount Tateyama. There's a story here. I had a hole in the butt pocket on the right side of my jeans, and those rocks you kind of see there are jagged, not like dangerously so, but me and my friends, after we got to the peak, we were climbing down the mountain kind of on our backs just because it was so steep. And later on, we got to a resting point about halfway down, and we heard this Japanese guy yelling. And he wasn't like angry yelling, just trying to get people's attention yelling. And we turned and saw that he was yelling at us. As I kept looking, I noticed, I think he was yelling at me. And I started walking toward him, and I noticed he had something in his hand, and he held it out, and he had my wallet. Not that he had stolen it from me, but like climbing backward down those rocks had torn the hole in my pocket, and my wallet fell out. And so, wow, I was amazingly lucky to get my wallet back. I mean, I suppose it was easy, it had my photo ID in it. He knew who it was from. But yeah, I wish I didn't really speak a lot of Japanese, otherwise I would have offered to buy the guy dinner or something, I don't know. Couldn't really buy dinner up on the mountains, but I don't know, I wanted to give him some kind of reward for helping me out, because yeah, I'm lucky. That is, you can see kind of in the background there, that is Mount Fuji. That's as close as I ever got to it. My first time above the cloud cover. That was really interesting, seeing clouds from above. I like that. This guy, God, what was his name? This was the day that I left Japan. I was getting on a bus. Koji, I think that's what it was. Koji. He ran a little tiny hole-in-the-wall bar behind the building where my apartment was. And a lot of us teachers, my fellow teachers and I, we would go there and get drinks and food. And he also had a PS2 set up, and I would go in there and play Resident Evil 4. Great guy. He would help us out as far as setting up our phones and bank accounts and all this cool stuff. Right, friendly chap. miss him. The spider webs in Japan were unbelievable. They were like the size of Volkswagens and had, I don't know how many freaking spiders in there. I saw webs bigger than this. They were just haunting, but kind of cool. I mean, I don't have a problem with spiders. I'm not one of those people who like automatically kills a spider every time I see one. I just kind of leave them alone and let them be. I suppose you can't really see it very well except maybe kind of around the forklift, but this whole thing was covered in spider webs. Like inside it was all, this whole space was full of spider webs, and hundreds of spiders must have been. Those kinds of spiders right there. Yes, those were the spiders. This spider is not flying, you just can't see the web. But yeah, big, creepy. Don't want them near me. I mean, again, I'm not really against spiders, but those kinds of things. All right, that's going to be it for today. I hope you learned a lot about me. Let me know in the comment section if any of you have been in the military, anyone specifically in the Army, anyone stationed in Fort Polk or Korea, Camp Humphreys. Did anyone go to Louisiana before or after the hurricane? Anyone help with hurricane relief? Any Magic the Gathering players out there? I mean, I don't play Magic anymore. It's fun and interesting, but it's just too time consuming and too expensive and too many cards. So if you like what you saw in this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you saw in this video, please share, like, and subscribe. My name is Tim Snowborn, and this has been Serious Issues.